What's up, guys? Justin McDangles back here with another video, and we are back in the franchise mode with the San Jose Sharks, guys. If you have been enjoying these videos, be sure to drop a thumbs up. I will also leave a card in the top right hand corner right now, just in case you guys have missed the last couple videos. You can check out the playlist and get all caught up before watching this video. But getting into this video, guys, we will be doing the NHL draft and the re-signing phase along with free agents. And simming through the preseason. Just looking at things here, our prospects have, from this past draft, haven't been sort of the best, especially with our top pick. If I can just get this here in the system, as we go through here. Perfetti with a very down year, 18 goals, 35 assists in 67 games played. Not what you want to see from a centerman that we sort of traded up to get early in last year's draft. But sort of a big surprise was Sokolov here. 44 goals, 69 assists in 67 games played. That is an absolute gem steal of a player for a 5th round pick. So that is big time for him to potentially maybe crack the AHL lineup next year. That would be sweet to see. Ryan O'Rourke had a pretty decent season with the Sioux Greyhounds. 11 goals, 47 assists in 66 games played. Might give those guys an extra year to develop. I don't know about Perfetti because it's just not what you want to see out of a sort of top 5 pick in the draft last year. So looking at the sort of draft class this year, there aren't really sort of any super high centerman sort of substitutes other than Trevor Wong here. 5'11", or 5'10", 18 years of age, 53 and 53 in 69 games played. He is NHL ready, so we could potentially sort of use our first round pick as well as Perfetti as trade bait to potentially move up and select him, since our first round draft pick this year isn't until pick 24, I believe. So without further ado, guys, we're going to get into this draft right now and see if we would even be able to get to trade up for a top sort of pick here, as it looks like the Avalanche are the only team that might want to trade away their the first overall pick. Let's see what they want for this. Let's see how much trade value Perfetti actually does have, as it is still pretty high up there. We could, oh man, that would be a huge move to try and sort of trade him for that first overall pick to the Avalanche. I don't really want to do that. I want to see who they draft and see sort of what he sort of is, just to see what it really could have been. And our right wing franchise medium player could have been, guys. Really sucks to see that, as we will try and trade for that 3rd overall pick to see if we can sort of trade up our first overall pick, or our first round pick here. It doesn't look like it's going to be able to sort of get up there. So honestly, I just want to try and just sim these picks to see what could have been if we did indeed trade up, if I can just get there. Let's go ahead and sim this pick here. See if they... Oh man, Sniper Medium Elite 81 overall for nickname. And Trevor Wong 76 overall. So sort of around the range of what Perfetti really is. So honestly, probably should have traded up for Sonnenberg. Although we don't really need right-wing players. This draft doesn't really offer many sort of center options, as we can go ahead and take a look here at the centerman position for this upcoming draft. Nothing too crazy. I mean, Perlini and Roy could be potential picks, but they're projected to go pretty high. Both medium, one is medium elite, one is elite high. So let's see the 7th overall pick. Ooh, he could go there. Let's see if we can trade up for this 8th overall pick with our first round pick. Oh, don't want to trade Carlson. Don't want to do that. I actually just want to swap him for this draft pick. See if it will be even remotely close. It doesn't look like it will be close enough to try and trade up. So let's just go ahead and sim to our pick, number 25. Look here at sort of the centerman taken. Decent players taken a sort of medium 70s overall. Roy 71 Perlini went 72 overall. So let's go ahead and make a pick here with sort of the best available player right now, and we've got a grinder here, right winger, 3 years out. I don't really want a player that far out. Could go with Mason McTavish here. 2 years out, medium elite potential. Did he have a decent year? 65 games played. It's really tough to tell. I mean, similar style to Marian Gaborik. No weaknesses, which is kind of nice to see. So honestly, I think what we need to do is sort of shore up that centerman position here. We will go with Mason McTavish with our pick, and he is a 68 overall, top 6 forward, medium sort of potential. But we will go ahead and simulate to our 74th pick here and see what type of gems we can try and find here in this draft. As we found one in the last draft, let's see if there are any goalies out there that have potential, sort of elite medium here. Terrible stats. Don't really want to go for that. Tristan Lennox, 6'4". Not the best sort of stats in the world for a goaltender, 4 years out. Mika Haken, 6 foot, 5 years out. Nothing really sort of eye-catching about these goaltenders. Ola Lundqvist hasn't really played any games, so don't really want to look at the goaltenders in this draft, unfortunately. But looking here at sort of potential players we could sort of take here, not really sort of seeing anything that stands out as we can sort of go through here and look at sort of the stats of these players just slowly. Nothing is really standing out for players that sort of pop off the page, but we could try and go for this Lennox guy. He is sort of high up there for a goaltender, so we will go ahead, draft him up, and he has starter medium potential, 59 overall. Not sort of the best potential there, but we will go ahead and try and make some more picks here within this draft and see what sort of diamonds in the rough we could potentially get here. Nolan Allen, offensive defenseman, 5 years out, could be a potential sort of replacement in the near future, or just use him as trade bait. Medium elite potential. Let's check and see what potentials are out there. And it looks like he is sort of the highest. We've got that goaltender right there, 5 years out. But I'm actually going to go with this Nolan Allen kid here. See what his potential is. Top 6D medium potential. Could be used as trade bait, but we will go ahead, sim up to our next pick, and actually offer a trade out of these picks here. Just try and get sort of the rest of these picks sort of off our books here, as we could potentially offer both of our 4th round picks here to sort of get something out of the next couple drafts here. With looking at potential contenders, we can look and try and get some of their draft picks. Honestly, could snatch a 2022 second round pick from Carolina, as they're looking to get rid of that. 2 fourths for a second. Could even maybe throw in sort of a late pick for them, like a 6th round pick that might sort of add that up. Trade's rejected, so we'll take the 6th round off. See if those 2 fours go for the 2. It does not. So we will try and check our next team here for the Blackhawks. See if they're willing to sort of part ways with any of their picks. Could try and get a 3rd round pick out of them. League approved proposed trade, and that is rejected as well. So we will just go ahead, hold on to these picks, and sort of make some selections here just to try and get some prospects in to maybe potentially trade out in the future. I'm just not really seeing anything sort of standing out here. Defensive defenseman, 6'4", 4 years out. Might as well go for him, see what happens. Top 6, low potential. Obviously not what you want to see in a pick, but so when you're picking here deep in the draft, you're most likely not going to find sort of any diamonds in the rough. Just looking here at some other potential picks here. Xavier Boudegard. I'm not too sure if that's how you properly pronounce that name, but he had a pretty decent season for 18 years of age. Honestly, go for that. Two-way forward, go for that pick. Bottom 6 forward, low potential, 61 overall. Not terrible, but not great. Could be a potential AHL sort of player for us as we get into our 5th round selection here. Seeing if there are any sort of forwards out there worth taking. Not a great season from sort of these players. This is a defenseman. Decent stats, 10 and 10. Offensive defenseman, honestly, could go for a pick here. Sort of after his 2nd year of juniors. I mean, not looking great. Godderfried. Let's see if there are sort of any other picks that with sort of high-looking potential. Could sort of go for Olo Lundqvist here. Honestly, we'll just throw the draft at him. Fringe starter, medium potential. Obviously here, late pickings in the draft, you're not going to sort of find any other sort of diamonds in the rough here. As we're just looking at some of these players. Don't want to really stack up on goaltenders too much. Let's see what sort of high potentials are left. As Salo here. Injury prone. Don't want that on the books. As Ernest Ribeiro, lacks size, 5 years out. Honestly, just looking at sort of potential for some potential maybe trade bait, bottom 6 forward, medium potential there with Krechnikov. As we will go ahead and just sort of round out the rest of this draft with some higher sort of potential picks here. I know sometimes they don't really pan out. Kabnikov, honestly, just will throw that pick in there. Forcer defenseman, 7th defenseman, medium potential. Sucks to see, but we will go ahead and simulate the rest of the draft, as that is sort of it for the draft, as we will now get in to sort of the re-signing phase of players. So we will go ahead, simulate up to that, and take a look at what players need to be re-signed. So looking here at the sort of the re-signing phase here, looks like we have a potential sort of changes here. Sorensen dropped in overall down to an 80, so we could potentially let him go. Zach Aston Reese actually got bumped up, but our biggest sort of concern here with offering a contract is we need to get Larson on the books. He wants 4 years at 4.9. Honestly, gonna give that to him. He's 28 years of age. I think he earned that with a solid sort of performance this season. Zach Aston Reese wants 3 years at 1.97. Honestly, not a bad deal to sort of get a 4th line player sort of locked up. Goudreau here, looking for 1.67. 1.675 for 1 year. We'll honestly give that to him as well. Might let Sorensen walk because he might want too much. He actually doesn't want a lot, which is surprising to see. 2 years. Oof. Honestly, let's just get that 1 year. Honestly, that's a great deal for Sorensen. Honestly, we'll give him that, as it's not that big of a deal that he wants. Gramble, I don't believe Gramble played any games this year for us. He played a few. Let's see what Gramble actually wants. 2 years at 1.4 isn't really the end of the world, but I want to see sort of what other players. Let's see, Chad Ruhwedel could want a 2-way deal. 2 years for sort of the lowest amount that you can get. Let's see what Roy wants here. He wants 2 ways. We'll give him 2 years as well, just so we sort of lock him up, as it looks like there are a few other AHL players that we could get into, but I want to sim a day here. Larson signs. Ruhwedel will not. Aston Reese does. Goudreau signs. Sorensen will reject the offer. Roy resigns. And so we will sort of go from there now. Chad Ruhwedel didn't want to resign. Honestly, I don't see why not. We'll give him 1 year at 7.25 and see what he says from that. Zach Aston Reese did not re-sign, neither did Sorensen, and I don't really want to lose sort of. Man, he wants way too much. I'll bump that up to 2 mil. 2 mil for a fourth line player is kind of crazy. But honestly, I think he had a pretty great season. We'll throw him a bone there with trying to get that taken care of. Gramble, honestly, we'll give him that 2 years at 1.4 at 79 overall. I think is okay. We will probably have to let Sorensen walk after him giving us sort of his 2 years with us. Simic didn't really play much. He wants 1 year at 0.925. We'll go ahead and offer him that. And then it looks like we have a bunch of sort of AHL players that we can go ahead and try and re-sign as well, which I will go ahead and offer them because they aren't asking for too much. They're asking for essentially the minimum, as we want to try and keep our AHL team sort of buzzing, as they had a really good year as well. So we will go ahead and sort of offer these guys their contracts here for those 2 years. We'll simulate a day here just to see what players actually. Ruedel won't re-sign. Neither will Zach Aston Reese. But it looks like our AHL players will go ahead and re-sign with us. So that is huge stuff right there. See if we can get the rest of these AHL players all re-signed for 1 year, as our cap space looks like it's going to be around 9.5 potentially to work with here, as we're sort of running out of our AHL players to re-sign here. Honestly, we could sort of let this guy walk, although he is pretty young, so I do want to try and keep him around. And Perfetti, 72 overall. I kind of want to keep him in the... because he's going to want the max. He's going to want the max two-way contract, so we could try and get him in. But at the same time, it's either sort of re-sign this guy or bring in Perfetti. And at this rate, I'd rather sort of save that money and see if Perfetti can sort of find a way to bounce back after sort of a poor year in juniors and try and get him back on the right track. As it looks like we have signed a lot of our guys here for those two-way deals. Looks like we have a couple more here to sort of get through, as they want the minimum. We'll go ahead and give them those minimum deals, as they shouldn't really affect our cap. As it looks like they're Sokolov. We'll let the rest of our sort of junior guys that we sort of drafted in the previous year sort of develop a little bit more here. As, man, this guy wants a lot. 3 years, we'll honestly give it to him. I don't see sort of the problem with that. And the rest, it looks like we will have to try and re-sign. Let's see here. Why did this guy... I don't think he wanted sort of that money deal. We'll offer him 750. Which I feel like he will be able to re-sign that, as he is our top sort of AHL centerman. Ruedel just does not want to re-sign. We'll give him one more try here at 775, 1 year for that two-way deal. See if he signs, and I just don't want to sort of overpay for Zach Aston Reese. What does Sorensen want? Sorensen doesn't want that much, so I'm okay with offering him 1125 and see what he says about that, just so it looks like Ruedel will sign and Sorensen will not. So we were able to sort of get those two guys in, but it doesn't look like we're going to be able to sort of get those fourth line players for us re-signs, which we can always pick up in free agency. It looks like our goaltender situation is looking all right. Both of our AHL goalies actually look like they need re-signed. So we will go ahead and offer them contracts, as it looks like they want sort of the minimum, which is perfectly fine with me. 1 year at 700. We will go ahead, simulate that day, as the cap space is looking pretty good for this upcoming season at 11 million. So we have some space here to try and get some of our lower sort of fourth line roles filled, as it doesn't look like we're going to be able to re-sign these guys. So we're gonna release them now Zach Aston Reese and Sorensen sort of gave it their all here for the San Jose Sharks. But we will go ahead and sort of work our way to free agency, which is this upcoming day. So we will go ahead, simulate up to free agency, and see what players we could try and re-sign here, and maybe some upgrades that we could potentially make here. As we will go ahead and take a look, and we will sort of need to replace those fourth line players first before getting into anything big, as we have $11 million here in cap space. So let's take a look at what potential guys we could get for the fourth line, as Hyman would be a nice little shout. Bottom 6 forward lines would be a nice little gritty player, 29 years of age. He does want 2.375, which is a little bit more than what I want to sort of pay for a fourth line player. Alexander Steen would be a nice shout, but he doesn't fit any of our lines. Pearson here, a year younger, didn't have such a great season, doesn't really fit any of our lines. So I'm just sort of looking here at what potential free agents we could possibly sign here. Matthew Perreault doesn't really fit. Honestly, it wouldn't be a bad shout for Zach Hyman, even though we would be sort of overpaying for him a little bit. But I am okay with offering him 2.4. See what he says there. Now looking at the right wingers for sort of the depth position, not very deep here with potential sort of players for the fourth line. In regards to right wingers, I mean, Jamie McGinn could fit. Zach Aston Reese had a really good season for us, putting up solid numbers. Chase Son could be a decent shout. Top 6 forward lines for Jason Pominville wouldn't really fit sort of our lineup. I mean, we could try for Zach Aston Reese, as he fits all of our forward lines. He wants 2.025. I mean, Wayne Simmons, man, did he drop like crazy. Only fits our third line, which kind of stinks. Justin Williams fits forward line 4 and is cheaper. He is pretty old, but has sort of that experience that we could need for us. So bringing in an older player might be a nice little shout. Look for Williams to sort of try and re-sign. And now thinking about it here at potential sort of other players we could honestly bring in. I know our defensive core, we could use one more defenseman to sort of fit our lineup, to sort of depth, to sort of add some depth to our defensive core. Alexander Edler doesn't fit any of our lines. I was going to say that might be a nice little shout. Hjalmarsson is sort of asking a little too much, and he doesn't even fit our lines. Let's see if there's sort of any filters that we can do for like fitting our lineups. Goligoski sort of wants a little too much. Ryan Pollock, I should say, had a pretty decent season. Fits all defensive pairs and is 83 overall. He's wanted for 4 years and is 26 overall. Two-way defenseman honestly wouldn't be a bad shout. But at the same time, I sort of want to look and see what forwards are available. It isn't really a crazy depth year for free agents. Now looking at it, into the CU might be a decent shout, as he fits bottom 2 lines. Jubba Joe Thornton is still kicking at 41 years of age. Ryan DeZingle honestly wouldn't be a terrible shout, although he doesn't really fit any of our lines. Just sort of looking here at potential free agents. Kevin Fiala might be a nice little shout. Fits line 2 for penalty kill, so not fitting really any of our lines. Gallagher doesn't fit our lines. Gutsev, does he fit any? Forward line 1, and we're set there. So honestly, not crazy in sort of what we could potentially get for sort of up top players. We could try and bring in Iafallo, but doesn't fit any of our lines. Could look at trying to bring in a depth centerman, as Philip Deneau is available. Only fits forward line 2, and we are set up front there. Nick Bukestad could be a nice addition, although he did not have a great year. It looks like 57 games played, and not really the points you want to see for a sort of bottom player. Tyler Bozak could be a nice little shout. Fits forward line 3. Could be able to sort of work him into our lineup, as Adam Lowry only fits the penalty kill. Blake Coleman and Casey Zizekas. I mean, Bozak only wants 1 year, 35 years of age, but Coleman is younger. Put up decent numbers, only fits the penalty kill, unfortunately. Casey Zizekas, not a great year for him, as we're sort of looking at some depth center players. I mean, Bozak put up some decent numbers, and we could try and get him in here, so that's what I'm going to try and do. Doesn't want too much, could offer him a little bit more. Honestly, for 2 years for 1925, that would be a great little deal there for Bozak, as we will go ahead and sort of simulate. Actually, before we do, let me try and put a bid in here for one of these defensemen for Pollock, as he fits sort of all of our lines, and that would be sort of our biggest sort of free agent signing. A couple other teams are looking at him, so we might want to give him a little bit more sort of that free agent hit on our salary cap, and we will go ahead and simulate some days here and see which players actually accept our offers and which do not. Smith for a first round, I will decline that. Keep advancing these days until we sort of hear back. Don't want to get rid of Khudobin, as he had a pretty good year for us in the NHL, with Jones sort of on the sort of injury list all year long, as Pollock is extremely happy to accept the offer. Bozak, Hyman, and Justin Williams, full roster. Interesting, so we have a full roster here. Let me take a look here at our contract situation with our roster. We've got 50 contracts. Let me sort of look at what we have for right wingers. We've got the 3. Connolly sort of has dropped a little bit. It's sort of worth a lot at 80 overall. Not really what you want to see. He fits sort of our second line. Man, that's tough. So we have $3 million left on our cap space here. Let's take a look at our left wingers. Sort of not great there with sort of depth, although Hurdle is playing wing, so we would be able to sort of slide him into that position. Bozak is a nice little addition. We could try and trade Samela out of here, but I would rather get Malcolm Carlson, just because he didn't play a lot of games for us. Is worth a little bit more, so we can go ahead and try and trade Malcolm Carlson to sort of free up a little more cap space to bring in another winger. So I have a trade up here for Malcolm Carlson to the Boston Bruins for a third-round pick, just to sort of dump a player off of our potential lineup for the salary. Try and see if that is accepted, and it is, so we do have some more room to try and bring in a right winger, as we will go ahead and look at sort of the rest of the free agents that we could potentially bring in, as we have pretty much gotten the rest of the players we have really wanted. We've got 4.3 to work with here, as we could try and look and see what players we can try and bring in at the winger positions. I mean, there are a few different choices we could sort of work with here. Ryan Hartman, forward line 3, sort of looking for a sort of fourth line player, as Williams would have fit that. He does fit all of our penalty kills, so let's try and get Williams into the team here, as he wants 2 years. Honestly, I feel like that would be a nice little shout, bringing in Justin Williams. Little Mr. Game 7 would be a nice little shout. Getting him back in here to the San Jose Sharks would be pretty sweet to see. Khudobin, obviously don't want to try and get him traded out of there, as we can see. Oh wow, Shea Weber to the New York Rangers with Carl Alsner for a first-round pick is crazy to see, as the New York Rangers getting a solid defenseman for their club. As Larson, I don't want to get rid of him. He might be sort of on our trade block for some reason, as I'm waiting for Justin Williams to sign with us, and we are able to get Justin Williams into the team. So we do have some space here for our sort of salary cap. I would want to try and see other free agents, but let's go ahead and just sim to the next season and take a look at our lineups. So here we are, guys, at the edit lines and set captains page. Let's see what lines we have, and holy smokes, they really shuck up the lineup. Just taking a look at it here, Hyman on the third line, Meyer on that third line. Don't really want to see that, as we will have to try and sort of figure this out. Couture got bumped up to an 87, which is nice to see. Kind of want to see who's scratched actually right now. And Gramble and Ferraro. Gramble up to an 81. That is really nice to see, as we can try and get him onto this sort of fourth line here. And see if we can fit him into the lineup. Nice to see an 81 overall. Goudreau, 87 overall. What is our other scratched player? Ferraro and Samela. So just taking a look at our forward lines. Obviously, you don't want to see Meyer sort of on that third line, as he has had pretty decent years in the past here. Although we could try and see how this works out with that sort of +3 for these lines to sort of see how that works in the preseason. Obviously, Hurdle, oh man, that would be sort of nice to get that. Man, what would I rather have a +3 on is the real question, with Hurdle sort of bouncing around the lineup here. Our lineup is looking pretty strong right now. Let's go ahead and take a look at our defensive lineup. Carlson, Slavin, Pulak, Merkley, and Vatanen. Let's see if sort of we shake this around. That's nice. Get a +1 to sort of all of the lines. Let's take a look. Could get a potential +3 on that first line with Polak and Carlson. If we do that, Slavin sort of drops down there. Can we get Larson back up to this line? No. Vatanen, no. So if we sort of keep that, it's either +3 on the first line or sort of get one sort of all the way around. And I'd rather have sort of that one sort of boat boost to sort of all of our defensemen. So go ahead and take a look at our goalies. Jones, 84. Khudobin, 81 overall. As we sort of will go ahead and take a look at our power play, special teams, and everything. +3 for our first one and a +1 on the second power play. +1 on both of the 4-man power plays. Penalty kills are +1, which is nice to see. 3-man penalty kill isn't great. Let's see if we can sort of figure that out. Get Bozak there on that line. Oh, wait, that doesn't work because he's already on that first one. So let's see if getting Strome would work in there. That does not work. It's going to have to be Gramble for that -1, unfortunately. As we will look at the extras, good there. Goalies, good there. Scratched. So if anything, we would just need to sort of figure out sort of the lineup here, and if we would really want to see Meyer on that third line, but it gives them that +3. I'm just sort of hesitant to do that. Let's see if we move Williams up to the third line. No, that doesn't work. Gramble, no. Goudreau doesn't work there. So it really all depends on where we want that +3. If we want 2 +3s or just 2 +1s on the second and third line. I mean, this is a solid lineup. Strome had an amazing year last year for us. First year with the club. 56 points in 82 games played after sort of having a disappointing year before with the Rangers in Edmonton. But if anything, we could try and get a trade in here for a third line player like Brett Connolly. We could try and get his salary off our books and try and get him out of there. But let's go ahead and take a look at our captains here, see who they are. They should be Couture still the captain, Carlson and Hurdle, so we will go ahead and keep that as our captains, have that all set and ready to go. And I actually do want to see how sort of this lineup works through the first couple games of the preseason, and then we will go ahead and close out this video. So I will go ahead and simulate through half of the preseason here against a couple teams. I will sort of sort out our sort of trade block in just a moment. Lose to the Vancouver Canucks, back-to-back with the Golden Knights and Anaheim Ducks. Those games are actually losses. That is a terrible trade right there. Actually, we'll just go ahead and simulate all the way through the preseason here just to see how this lineup sort of operates. Another loss on the books, so the team isn't really performing well in this preseason, as we have taken 3 losses. Man, Zach Hyman, trade for him. Don't want to get rid of him as we just brought him into the team here. And in that last game of the preseason is a loss, so we ended up with the worst record in the Pacific Division for the preseason. Man, that's tough to see. Let's take a look at our lines. Status is for the team is hopeful. Evander Kane. Let's just go ahead and look through our players how they did. Seven games played, 4 points. 1-1 for Couture, so not a great preseason for our first line. Hurdle 2-1, Strome 1-5, and then Meyer 0-2. Let's take a look at Connolly 0-1. 1-1 and then 1-0. Let's go ahead and switch this around. Get Meyer on the third line. I know that might hurt his sort of development, but I want to see if that +3 will sort of make a difference there, as our fourth line didn't really do anything. Justin Williams with 3 goals in the preseason. Nice to see. Let's take a look at our goaltenders, how they did. Martin Jones, 6 games, 2 wins. Great sort of stats there. And Khudobin with pretty poor stats, .863 for the preseason, 4.784 goals against. But that is going to be it for today's video, guys. Let me know what you want to see with these lines and how you want me to sort of go about sort of making them. I mean, the team sort of does look good right now. Hopefully they sort of turn it around once the regular season starts. But let me know what you guys want to see for the lineups here. As I'll go back and forth here for you guys to take a look at them and see what you want to do with them. But that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you guys did enjoy it, and as always, stay dusty.